do you say this? Rube Goldberg. Okay. Let's do this. Alright, what's up everyone? If you don't know me, my name is Denzel Mensah. I'm a life coach, personal development and relationship coach as well. I'm an ENFJ 9-wing 1, and today I wanted to talk about some of the perceiving functions, mainly NI and NE. So the intuitive functions and how they relate to the Rube Goldberg machine. A Rube Goldberg machine, which is a word that or phrase that I just learned recently from Google, is a machine named after an American cartoonist. It's a chain reaction type machine or contraption intentionally designed to perform a simple task in an indirect way and overly complicated way. So, essentially, as you could probably observe right now on the screen, a Rube Goldberg machine are those domino-like effect type of contraptions that it's almost like a perpetual motion machine, but this time it's not really perpetual. It's actually moving so that it can accomplish a certain task, and everything just hits one thing that hits the other, and so it's this whole domino effect that then causes that final thing at the end. And essentially, this is a concept that I've thought about a lot, but once again, I never knew the name of it. I just called it those domino things. So now I actually have a name for it, the proper term for it. And I wanted to go ahead and make a video about it and my theory on it, that maybe it might help you guys understand NI and NE a little bit more in the way that it's helped me understand it a little bit more. So, in essence, I believe that NI dominance, so INFJs and INTJs, they are perpetually searching for, or maybe not even searching for, but they just perpetually come across Rube Goldberg machines in the wild, metaphorically of course, and they study them from infancy. And as they study them, they learn more and more and more about the intricacies behind these very often intricate machines, especially when you see them in the wild, like the domino effect of how this all affects this and this all affects that, and boom, boom, boom. And NI is intrinsically intrigued by it. So with the NI dominance, they are observing these in the wild, and then as they observe them in the wild and they study them in the wild, then they, more than any other types, in my opinion, know best where the ball is going to land. So I believe that if, for example, they are observing a Rube Goldberg machine in the wild, and one is attached to an apple tree of some sort, they can study it enough and be able to be like, oh, if I position myself right here, then every day at 2:24 a.m., I am going to then receive an apple, which I don't know why I said a.m., but I guess you can't really control nature, which is the funny thing about it, because that's kind of what, in my opinion, inferior SE can come off as. Inferior SE could be that, oh, I am, I'm trying to control. Mom. Hello, Mother. Yes, Mother. Yes. Mother. Put the phone on Do Not Disturb so that you don't get disturbed, but then you end up still getting disturbed. Anyway, so with NI DOMs and inferior SE, then they usually know where that apple is going to land. and they know where to position themselves, they know what time. Because I think that NI and SE is focused on timing. When should we move? Where is this going to end up? Stuff like that. And around what time is it going to end up? And then if we should react to it, when would be the best time to react to it? Or how should we cause this thing to happen? Now, the lower that your SE is, in my opinion, or in my experience, then the more you're going to be more focused on just observing the Rube Goldberg machine out in the wild rather than actually influencing it. So these NI DOMs, they will know where the apple will land at the exact time, all of that, and they can be some of the best guides because they can help you to be able to find where the apple is going to land and all of that as well. But I think that until they actually start developing more of their auxiliary function, then they're mainly going to focus more on just, the natural Rube Goldberg machines and, stuff coming from that. Whereas as ENJs, I believe from what I've seen, since they have the NI and the SE in the middle, they often will observe the Rube Goldberg machines in the wild, and they'll gain a good understanding of how they work, and then immediately they're like, I bet I can create one of these myself. So then they will go into establishments, or they'll create an establishment of some sort, and then they'll create their own Rube Goldberg machines. So that way, once they've created it, then they can observe even more of that in a controlled space, and they can start to create more and more and more, which I believe has to do with that SE tertiary of like, okay, I don't want to wait until this apple comes down by itself. I'm going to create one myself so that the apple can come down when I want it to, and much faster. I don't have to necessarily, quote unquote, wait for the insight all the time. I'm going to find a way to rush the insight, or maybe not even rush it, but just find a way to expedite the process of some sort. And sometimes, obviously, it's better to just stick to the natural one, and then other times, it's better to actually, speed it up a little bit, depending on the situation. Now, with extroverted intuition, my theory is that instead of extroverted intuition users focusing on Rube Goldberg machines so that they can get that epiphany, that apple, that lightning strike at the end of whatever it might be, they are just intrinsically interested in the Rube Goldberg machines. So what they like to do, again, metaphorically, is they like to stare at the Rube Goldberg machine, and they like to just see like, oh wow, so what's gonna happen next? Oh whoa, so this just hit that, and then that's causing this, and they're just like getting more and more excited by seeing these patterns go on and how things are going there. But then they're like, wait, once it stops, then they're like, oh man, that sucks. Like, okay, yeah, the apple came down, fine, that's cool, but I don't care about the apple that much. I care more about understanding the contraption, but not in the same way that the NI DOM is. I care more about it so I can continue the process. So I view extroverted intuition as kind of like, oh, I get it, and then it tries to like add more. So when they're patterning things, they're more like seeing what the pattern is, and then they're finding ways to throw the pattern on there. It's almost like, oh, I see these railroad tracks being built, and so now I'm understanding the pattern there, so I'm going to start throwing more railroad tracks. Like if I want to continue the pattern, I can do that. And I can take these disparate railroad tracks and find where else, other places that it'd be able to fit into. So I think that's what's most interesting to extroverted intuition. And sometimes NI and NE can work very well together, because NE can, want to extend that Rube Goldberg machine. I literally just learned that term. They want to extend that Rube Goldberg machine, and then NI likes the extension sometimes because it wants to better understand it. But then there's also times where they can butt heads because NE is having a lot of fun seeing these patterns play out and all of that and enjoying it to that extent. Whereas for NI, it's like, okay, but we need to land the plane. I'm waiting for the apple. That's what I really want. I'm waiting for the reward at the end. This is nice, yes, but I want the reward. Whereas NE is kind of like, the reward is nice, sure, but then it stops everything else from happening. So I want to extend this for as long as possible. I want to bounce this back and forth for as long as possible, because once that ball falls, then it's like, man. And NE is kind of like, NE is most juiced up when it has somebody else to, brainstorm and vibe with, to be able to throw their ideas at and build up on each other, almost as if they're like, just in some sort of flow together. But then once they leave each other, then you start to see the ideas kind of like going down, or like that excitement in that way, because that's when NE once again is like most charged up. It's not to say that NE can't do it by itself, but that's when it's most charged up. Whereas like with NI, it's more just focused on, okay, I'm going to wait until the epiphany hits me, because all of this is kind of like a means to an end. So NE is more playful in that extent, and throwing out the ideas and all of that and patterning, whereas like NI is like really fixated on like, getting to a specific goal in mind. And that goal is often that epiphany. So yeah, when it comes to Rube Goldberg machines, I think that that's a way in how I view them, when it comes to like NI versus NE. And sure, I could probably add on a whole bunch of other stuff like, okay, well, this is how the INJs looked at it and then versus the ENJs. So maybe ENPs versus INPs. And I don't want to risk saying something wrong right now. So I will see what you guys think. I mean, if you're an INP, let me know what you think. Like how, if there is a difference at all, because even with the INJs and the ENJs, I still feel like they're still both doing the same thing. Is just a little bit of a difference with that tertiary, because NI is always coming with SE. So I guess with NE always coming with SI, I didn't really connect that one just yet. So what do you guys think? Like, I have ideas, but I don't want to say something once again that I haven't like vetted or, actually put thought into in the way that this was mainly an NI concept that I was thinking of, and I originally started thinking of it as I observed the INJs that I know and that I coach and everything versus the ENJs that I know and that I coach. Then eventually NE just came into play, and I was like, okay, I think that works. Let me just throw that in there. But yeah, I want to know what you guys think. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. And before we even end off on that, speaking of NE and not knowing and all of that, Judy, my ENFP friend, we were speaking recently, and she actually, I brought up the whole Rube Goldberg machine to her, and her INTJ partner, and she actually sent me this text message that I'm still actually trying to process, but maybe it'll be helpful for you guys, especially y'all NE users. Maybe she will do you a little bit more justice if I, by any chance, had not. So Judy says, if NE sees a perpetual motion machine, it's true that it sees all the parts and tries to see where one could go with each of the parts, but it's not so that the machine keeps going. That may be a side product, but it's not the reason. The reason is to open possibilities for the future. If I take part A as it currently is in this machine, it'll get me to outcome B. But if I take part A and apply it in these ways, I could generate outcomes C, D, E, F, so on. So it's not about what will be, which is what NI is doing, but rather what could be. So, in the process of doing that, NE might keep the machine going indefinitely, but it may equally well start building machine 2, 3, 4. In the meantime, the original machine may have run its course, but that doesn't matter. What mattered is that I've learned how to create different machines. So, in the future, I have options. I know how to get there if I need to. 99% of the time, I won't revisit what I've learned in the past, but what mattered is creating future possibilities. So yeah, I'm still banging that around in my NI, but I think that makes a lot of sense. And that usually is how NE is. Like, NE is perpetually making new ways, creating new ways and new ideas to be able to, move forward and all of that. Not because, it is very creative, but the real secret behind it is because they forgot how they did it before. Because the SI is like, oh man, I know I did this before, but how did I do it? Oh crap. You know what? I'll just figure out another way to do it. And so they're just always looking for a different way to be able to do something. And it's like, well, you're so creative, which is true by nature. NE, in my opinion, is very creative because you have to have a creative mind in order to find different ways to be able to perpetually, But that's kind of like what NE is doing at the heart of everything. So, yeah, I think that's everything. It was just some thoughts that I had that I was like, hey, maybe I should share this with YouTube and it might help some people or some person out there understand these intuitive functions a little bit more. So, what do you guys think? Leave me questions, comments, concerns. Book me for profiling, for coaching. Check out the description below for details on that, denzelmensah.com. And yeah, if you have any insights that you feel like you'd want to share, please leave them below. So thanks, and don't forget, you matter. Thank you for taking time to watch that video. If you watched it, whether it be on regular speed or 2x speed, I appreciate it. And if you don't mind hitting that like button for me, it really helps this humble channel out. Also, if you haven't already subscribed and you like the content that I make, then be sure to subscribe and hit that bell button. That way you'll be able to keep in touch with all the new posts that I make. And then also be sure to check out my playlist where you'll be able to find a lot of my older videos, because I think that a lot of those have some great quality content too. But anyway, thanks again for watching. Make sure to leave comments, questions, book me for coaching sessions at denzelmensah.com, and God bless.